Hey there, it's Shauna. I hope you're doing great. Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for February 5th. So I'm calling this week your lucky break because this week there's this certain element of luck and synchronicity and maybe new things opening up for you. So I'm excited to share the astrology of this week with you, and then I have 3 tips for you to have an amazing week. So first thing that's happening this week is we have Venus sextile Uranus. And so this is a really cool aspect because Venus is about attraction and love and beauty, and it is our ability to draw the things that we value to us. Venus is about values ultimately, and how we connect with the people, places, situations, and even the material things that we resonate with at a very deep level. And Uranus is the planet that symbolizes our individuality, our sense of being able to connect within a community, but it also symbolizes surprises and things happening very unexpectedly. Even things where you're like, oh my gosh, that came out of left field, out of nowhere, stuff like that. So there's this certain element of luck and synchronicity around relationships and attraction, and even just connecting with situations that represent our values and things like this. So a great energy for this week to be out and about, to connect with people, whether that's for something social or even for something with work. Like there's something kind of cool and synchronistic to this particular aspect. The other thing that's happening this week is we have the last quarter square of the moon in the sign of Scorpio. And so this has a different kind of flavor because the last quarter moon is the point, and this is happening on Wednesday, so we're probably going to be feeling this earlier in the week. The last quarter moon is when we're more reflective and where we're kind of like sussing out the situations, the things that have happened in the past few weeks and how we want to move forward. You may be especially reflecting on whatever it was that came up for you around the lunar eclipse that happened last week. And so those are just things to muse on. The sign of Scorpio is also very deep and intense and reflective, and so there may be some intense feelings that come up, and that's okay. I think that the trick with the energy of this week and this last quarter moon in Scorpio is that you don't necessarily need to do anything. You don't need to take action. Sometimes it's just a matter of feeling the feelings that are coming up and letting that be there. So that's that. The last thing that's happening this week is we have the Sun square Jupiter. And so this also has this element of like luck and synchronicity because the Sun is related to our spiritual focus. It's symbolically the spotlight of what our awareness is focused on. We think of the sun as like this big cosmic spotlight, and also the energy that it is that we have to give, what we're focused on giving, or just where our energy is focused, what it is that's important to us within this season. And then Jupiter is related to expansion. Jupiter symbolizes how and where it is that we want to learn or grow, or even like expand our reach. And so with the Sun squaring Jupiter, there's a little bit of tension here. So it's like, how can we focus on what it is that we want, which is the Sun, and then how can we expand and grow at the same time, which is Jupiter. And this is the Sun in Aquarius, which is a focus on community things and connecting with your tribe, like-minded people, all of these things. Aquarius is also associated with changing the system as well. And then Jupiter is in the sign of Scorpio, which that's where we have our last quarter moon this week. And so Jupiter and Scorpio, there is a desire to expand and learn and grow, but also to do so with topics that are deep and complex as well. So think like an interest in metaphysical things like meditation or psychology or astrology, or doing research on a project. It can even just be like wanting to connect with people in a very meaningful way. So, so the energy of this week overall, like there's this certain element of luck and synchronicity, and it feels important to connect with people as well, because there's this whole like community and socializing kind of vibe going on. And what I would say is, because we have the Scorpio energy, that it's not necessarily like just connect with people in more of a superficial kind of way. I mean, not, you know, like sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's nice to just like socialize and not make it be a super rich and deep thing. But this week, I think it is important to connect with people that that share your values and that you feel a very deep resonance with, and seek that out this week. And you know, we can never say exactly what will happen. Like, I don't know, maybe you try that and you're like, Shauna, that didn't work, I couldn't find that, and that's okay. But I would like notice if you don't feel a deep connection with someone or something, or even just a project that you're working on, how can you shift that? Can you change that? Or just notice that, like, oh, this, I don't feel that. And maybe that informs how it is that you move forward with that situation or that community, etc. So that being said, I have 3 tips for you to make the most of the energy for this week. So tip number 1 is to join a community this week. So whether that is, I know some of you locally know that I'm big on Meetup, because it's a great way to connect with people that that have like a common interest. So whether it's going on Meetup or like going to a class or something like that, connect with some kind of community. It can even be online. Like there's so many online forums and things like that for whatever interest it is that you have. So that feels really important because we're within Aquarius season, and Aquarius is about connecting with like-minded people. It's about connecting with people who share a common values, but also a common mission, like where it is that you're going. It's important to surround yourself this week with people who are going to the same places that you are, whether that is specifically or just that they have like this that you have a common goal to achieve or to succeed or to get into a particular kind of field, anything like that. So that's tip number 1, is to join a community this week. Tip number 2 is to do a reflection ritual, particularly on Wednesday if you can. And that feels really important this week because we have this last quarter square of the moon in Scorpio. And the last quarter square of the moon, it's a point that happens every single month. So it's a natural part of the lunar cycle, the monthly cycle. But this one in particular is really important more than most because it's within the center of the eclipse season. It's like sandwiched in between the lunar eclipse that we had and the solar eclipse that we have coming up. And it's in the sign of Scorpio. So like this, there's some good juju going on here for really connecting with yourself and reflecting on the changes that are happening in your life, whether that's emotional or literal and physical. So that's tip number 2, is to do a reflection ritual this week. Tip number 3 is to try something new. And so I say this because we have this Venus sextile Uranus. And so like Venus sextile Uranus totally supports you in doing something new. And that can be anything. That can be an activity, a hobby. That can be, I don't know, like taking a new route on like a hike or a walk that you take, anything like that. I want you to try something new because when you do, there's this certain like that brings in that luck and synchronicity kind of element as well. And so that's that. So that's tip number 3. And I almost forgot, I have a quote that I wanted to read to you too. Usually I do it in between tips 2 and 3, but so this is from Tina Fey, and she's the person that we're featuring on the Feminine Principle podcast this week. And I really like her energy as a symbol for this week because she has this way of like, she's fucking hilarious, number 1, but she's also like, she talks about real stuff, and she's like witty and interesting. So there's like the funny part, but then there's also this this depth to her as well. And I feel like that's how we're going to be feeling this week, is where there's this certain element of like lightness and excitement, but then also like a depth as well, and maybe a little bit of intensity. So she says, "Don't waste your energy trying to change opinions. Do your own thing and don't care if they like it." And so I thought this was perfect also because we're in Aquarius season, and Aquarius, the archetype of Aquarius is about reaching lots of people and bringing something to people. It's like sharing a message that is helpful to humanity, and we can all do this in our own little ways. You know, you don't need to have a huge presence or be someone that's on you know, TV or a leader or something like that to do that. You do that in the interactions that you have every single day. The thing with this is that sometimes Aquarius energy, there's a tendency, like, or it's problematic when we get caught up in trying to convert people to our way of thinking, or to like, oh, like I have this thing that's going to help you, and so like you need to take it. And sometimes people aren't always open to the things that we have to say or to share. And so I like this quote because it's like that's not really the most important thing. The most important thing, especially this week, is that you go forward and do the things that are important to you. You do the things that you value. And ideally, you connect with the people that also value what it is that you have to give. So that is your horoscope for the week. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, please share it with a friend, because I like to get these messages out to as many people as possible. And if you want to go deeper into the astrology of this week, you can listen to the Feminine Principle podcast, Astrology for Authentic Living. It's the podcast that I co-host with my friend Mel of Energetic Principles. And it's really cool. It goes much more in depth than I can go on this video, and we totally geek out on all of the astrology and what things may look like at a practical level for the week. So that's that. And then also, I just released my meditation membership, and so that is where you sign up for a membership and you get a guided meditation that's about 10 or 15 minutes long every single week. And so I know that some of you have, if you've watched this, you've probably seen that I do guided meditations for every new moon and full moon. And so this is like an additional continuation of that. If you like the guided meditations that I do, you should check that out. So I'll have a link down below to all of these things. And then if you're interested in a reading, send me an email. I have my email below so that you can inquire about that. I'm doing readings about once or twice a month now, either via Skype or FaceTime, or sometimes in person in San Diego as well. So sending you lots of love, wishing you an amazing week, and I will talk to you soon. Namaste.